his former club. More from Leon and Tim on the way, all the reaction from the Emirates and indeed across those 4 games kicking off at the same time in the Premier League. But it is the leaders who...
And so
when Leandro Trossard says, when we get a set piece, we're confident we can score, might be something of an understatement
we get
at the moment for Arsenal.
Absolutely. I mean, you start to then think, you know, as a player and as an attacking player, we don't necessarily need to be as exact and actually create a chance anymore, get an assist, score. We can play for set pieces. The scope of what you can then achieve when you're in possession of the ball just becomes so much bigger, and obviously then, you know, you're getting the big guys off the back. The delivery is always excellent, but you know, put that together with you know, we just saw the run of the last 7 games. You know, all victories, only 1 goal conceded in that. So you put both of those together, they're strong at both ends of the pitch, and everything's going their way at the moment.
Only Nick Voltemada in those 7 games has managed to score a goal against them. It was 2.5 games before they even had a shot against them till the second half there. I mean, they're just so hard to try and break down.
But yeah, they're so stingy. But it's not only their back 5 who I talked about before the game of thinking they're the best in the league. Well, I look at Timber again today. I mean, he's got everything. I mean, it's just so powerful. He's quick. He's good on the ball. He tucks round. He's a leader. Saliba comes off injured there today. Looks like they're trying to protect a little injury from him. Mascara comes on. Looks like it's a seamless transition. He just comes on, does the job. Calafiori comes off. They make changes and they're able to cope. Declan Rice comes off with a little injury. I think he was carrying an ankle injury from the first half. But if he can't make the next game, you know, there's no dramas anymore because of the squad that they've built. And look, every team wants to, you know, play expansive football, put a load of passes together and open teams up and score from open play. But you can't always do it, especially when teams sit on a low block, like Palace did today. Palace were going nowhere. They were quite happy just to suffer out of possession and try and score on a counter-attack. They're a threat. We know they're a threat because they're a side they're party poopers. You know, wherever they go, they cause a problem. But Arsenal just don't panic and they just think, you know what, we might have to score from different means today. It might not be pretty, but we need maximum points really. We're at home, and they don't panic. And I think they've got that calmness and belief that eventually they will score. If they don't score from the first header, the first contact on their set pieces, they know, everyone knows from fine detail where they need to be when that ball might drop, and that's exactly what Eze did. I mean, Gabriel makes it good. He can't get the header on target, but he knows he can put it down into an area where they're coming in.
Well, in all seriousness, when you're leading, it does feel a little bit different. I'd rather chase, but for them now, the focus on what they need to do. The one thing I will say about Arsenal, they can win games in all different type of ways. Yes, set pieces are key for them, but, you know, getting over the line is the most important.
Yeah, and right now it is set pieces they're relying on and keeping clean sheets, which is absolutely crucial. Much more analysis of that.
You can see how hard they are working, and when you do that in training, quite often, Tim will tell you, when you're getting put through your paces at training, if the results aren't on the pitch, you start to lose belief and lose sort of, you know, well, real belief in that the manager's ideas are going to work. But actually, at the moment, everything that they seem to be doing, set pieces, defensive situations, creating opportunities, all seems to be working, and then you can really buy into what the manager's asking you every time he asks you to do something different.
Absolutely right. I mean, to highlight that, 11 goals they've scored from set pieces. If they haven't scored 11 goals, the players are turning, you know, they're asking questions why they're doing 3 hours a week on set plays. They're not asking any questions now because they know if they're not flying, if they're not scoring from open play, there's always a chance. The size of the players, the strength of them as well, but the delivery is absolutely spot on. But it's diligent on the work on the TV screen, the analysis, and on the field. Mikel's got it all going for him at the moment.
10 clean sheets of they've kept in 13 games in all competitions. So with Arsenal at home today, Manchester City were looking to be the closest to them, and they've been beaten at Aston Villa.
In the winner in the last minute. What a huge result. That is an absolute disaster for Vitor Pereira and that Wolves team.
Yeah, who are the only team still to win this season. And in fact, this weekend, all 3 promoted teams have won. The last time that happened, almost 5 years ago. So, 9 down, 1 still to go. And that is at the Hill Dickinson Stadium, where Everton are yet.
Goal kick, everyone can see it's a goal kick. And it's really hard for us managers, you know, when the lines person gives the goal kick, then the referee can't see it, overrules them. That's really tough for me to take. And then I get booked over things like that, and you go, come on, that can't be me getting booked, you know what I mean? Sometimes you got to hold your hands up, because that's a really poor moment, and it goes straight in, don't forget. This is where they've got to look at, you know, got VAR. I watched the Brighton game yesterday, some of the things I can't work out how they got it wrong.
Don't get yourself into more trouble.
No, I think it's fair for me to give an assessment. I think that's my job. I'm the manager. I'm not blaming the performance on that. I've just told you we were miles off first half, and the credit's them. Their better side overall absorbed the game second half. You know, we had a bit more of a go, but they absorbed the game well. But I still think I've got to give a viewpoint of the game in the bigger picture, not just our game, the game in the bigger picture. Big fan of VAR, but he's got to step in because it goes straight in the goal, and that can't be. Well, for me, that's not good enough when it's clearly a goal kick.
So what he's saying, to pick up, Jamie, that the Forest group are not fit enough to play the way that he wants to play.
Well, he said that was no criticism of a former manager, and I get that. But you need to look at the guy at the top. If you've got 3 managers in charge of Nottingham Forest before the November international break, of course the fitness issues are not going to be great. The styles of football that they all want to play, they're all completely different as well. There's talk of obviously Sean Dyche going back to more like Nuno, but that can't be healthy at all for players fitness-wise, as I said, style-wise. So, you know, it might be a tough sort of few weeks initially before they get into Sean Dyche's type of way of doing things, but as David Craig said there, Thursday, Sunday is not going to be easy as well, and that's not something that Sean Dyche has been used to as a manager.
Forest a long way from getting out of the woods just yet. What about Burnley? Didn't have an away point on the board until they went to Molineux this afternoon, and it was a real ding-dong battle between 2 sides who are down towards the bottom in these early weeks.
The league. There's no doubt about that. They've had the upset of not being able to get over the line and being so close. They've had that experience. I think they will go one step further, Steve. I really do.
I mean, it's very early days, as Mikel Arteta says, in October, but we've seen the standard of the league in the last few seasons. And if you do get a big lead, some clubs find it difficult to get that back.
Yeah, and everyone would rather have the points in the bag rather than trying to chase later on. But just listening to the noises up till this point this season, and even listening to the interviews, they know the significance of every single game and every single point that's available. They're talking about last season when they drew in a couple of games and let points slip away from them. And even though they were playing really well last season, if you don't get all 3 points on offer, suddenly, you know, 5 or 6 games later, you've slipped too far behind to compete. You're out of the title race. Whereas this season, they know the significance of every single point of every single game. Every single opportunity that they've got, they're trying to make sure they take, regardless of them playing well or not, because we all know, they know, you're not going to play well in every single game during the season, but we can still take all the points. And I just feel there's the right noises coming out of Arsenal this season, the understanding of what they're going to need to do to take that title.
I think they're measured as well in the pursuit of 3 points. You know, if they decide that it's not on, they'll take what's on offer. You know, whereas Liverpool at the moment, I think they're going, you know, stretching themselves to get 3 points and opening the door at the other end. I think they're more savvy with it at the moment. I really do. I think they've got enough experience in there, certainly enough guile, and the diligence what they're using on the training field, 3 hours a week to practice their set pieces is an incredible amount of time, but it's certainly worth it.
And we mentioned the clean sheet record there. When you look at the defensive stats at the moment, they're topping everything. I mean, look at that. I mean, as I just said to Tim, what a foundation to win games that is.
Absolutely. And, you know, that's not just the 2 centre-backs or the back 4 and the goalkeeper. That's across the entire team. They know they have to work as a team to get those kind of results and statistics. They can't just leave their back 4 to it. The 2 holding midfielders, I think, are outstanding in protecting the defensive line behind it. And if you do that, then you know 1 goal is enough to win football matches. And they know they've got the quality within their team that somebody can score out of nothing. They can score set pieces. Somebody will sprinkle a bit of magic on the game and they will get a goal. And then they win football matches because they're working so hard to keep clean sheets.
And they don't care what teams come and how they come and play against them. If a team want to have a fight against them, they're big and strong enough to have that. They don't care. They don't care if anyone launching long throws in. We heard Arne Slot recently saying, well, teams come with a low block, they're playing direct football, they're taking long throws as if it's a crime. It's not a crime. And Mikel's telling these boys, you know, no matter what we're up against, we can deal with it. And I think they've got the experience enough to be able to do that now.
They conceded 3 goals. Look, they've got another 29 games to play. The record's 15, that Jose Mourinho Chelsea team. The way they're going, they're on course to get close to that, aren't they?
They are. They're on track. And looking at them from the outside, they don't look like they're going to take away any of the organisation. They know exactly what's expected of them. They are having to make changes across the back line. They're not just completely settled, and yet everybody is up to the standard that is set. And Mosquera's come in and been terrific. And they seem proud by results and clean sheets. They're proud to keep the opposition out. You saw Timber talking about Crystal Palace and knowing they create chances in, but as a team, we know how hard we have to work to stop them, and they enjoy keeping clean sheets. You know, years gone by, I think we went through a stage where Arsenal only enjoyed scoring 4 and 5 and 6. Now they enjoy keeping clean sheets, and that's a great mentality to have throughout the team, and it's the kind that brings success.
And we know the numbers on corners and set plays, and that's 11 already this season from set plays. I mean, the amount of time they spend on the training ground doing that, and they're way ahead of any other team in those numbers.
That's why they do it. If they wasn't scoring goals, they were spending that amount of time on them, the players would get bored and talk to the manager and say, hey, come on. But when they're seeing the rewards on the weekend or in the midweek games, and they're seeing they're winning games because of their set piece, because of the due diligence what they're doing on the opposition, and the diligence of what they're putting into their own set pieces, the delivery is unbelievable. I mean, Declan Rice, you would think you want him in the middle of the box, you know, to finish it. I remember England once playing Harry Kane on taking free kicks and corners because he was the best at it. It's all about delivery. If the delivery's not right, it all falls down. But you got Saka on one taken from that. Yeah, they rode their luck in that game, but you're going to go to the home of the champions. You're going to have to ride your luck. And they did that. They scored a couple of goals. Got a late Harry Maguire goal. Gives them a huge amount of confidence bouncing into their home fixture, where they found it difficult, you know, in front of the home fans who expect. And I think their offensive players who they've gone into the market have really turned up, you know. And Burmo looks a top draw player along with Cunha. Look like they need to play in a Man United shirt. They've got their swagger, you know, pump their chest out, you know, real Manchester United players. Mason Mount's been playing. Hopefully he can get a rhythm of games now. Seshko, jury's still out for me, but he will only get better. So, yeah, the weakness still is the defensive side. I think Lammens, the goalkeeper's done well. I think they've made it easy for him. They're not asking him to play out stupidly around his penalty area. He's playing long off his left and right foot. He's a good kicker. So, yeah, it's positive news for Manchester United, finally.
They've had a lot of criticism over the years in recruitment, but those two Tim mentioned in particular, Cunha and Mbeumo. I mean, I was there yesterday. We know how heavy that shirt's been for certain players over certain years. They're both Manchester United fans. They were desperate, but they look like they're embracing it, like they're loving that stage. That's the difference, Leon.
Yeah, made easier by the results at Anfield and going and, you know, now being on a 3-game streak of confidence. Suddenly you can be the player you want to be. You're not weighed down as heavy by the stadium, by the shirt, by the expectation that is there every time you go out onto the pitch. Now you're starting to see their true selves of what they're capable of doing, because
when we are feeling here, like today, our fortress, and the energy is positive like it was today, the good result were here, and again, hopefully, today and for the next matches can get again a stronger structure with everything and with the supporter, and of course, feel it like a fortress.
What did you make of the goal that decided the game from an officiating point of view, firstly?
It's a corner, good corner and goal.
So no complaints. We saw you obviously speaking to Michael Oliver after the game. What was that about?
Listen, it doesn't matter. So we can talk about this action, this the result. So listen, it's fault to Mateus, but listen, we didn't lose the ball for decision for Michael. So in 10 years already here, I respect them too much. Of course, it's that, but you have to defend the corner and the corner action. You can say 5 minutes before it was an action that may conditionate the one action, you can say the corner. So it's not wise analysis to say after you know a game, winning or losing.
The third defeat of the season, Villa just the second team to stop City scoring. Haaland had scored in 10 consecutive Manchester City games up until that game. It was some result for Villa, but how damaging for Manchester City?
They're still in it. They're in it because of one man, and that's Erling Haaland. He's in such good form. Today he had a couple of views at goal, but I think they stopped the supply into him. They did very well in the midfield area. When I saw the teams, I thought they had too much power in the midfield area for him. Kamara, Onana, and John McGinn. I just thought they would run all over the City midfield, and that's the way it turned out. I mean, every time they got their head up to pass to Erling Haaland, they were all over him. They were just nicking the ball off him. They were giving it to the wide players, and they were Ollie Watkins was stretching them down the sides. I thought they deserved to win the game today, Villa. I thought they played well. They had a good game plan, and they closed the spaces down, and that's what you need to do, and not leave too much space in behind for the big man to run into. And today he hardly got a kick. But
is it as simple as that, though? To stop the service to Haaland, and at the moment you're stopping City?
I think it is at the moment because there's not enough goals coming from the rest of the Manchester City team. So, I mean, if in the year they pretty much won everything, they were scoring goals from all over the pitch. Foden was into double figures, Gundogan was into double figures. At the moment, it's only Erling Haaland who's scoring goals. I think earlier we said that own goals is second on the goal scoring list for Manchester City. That's a problem. And Tim talks if Haaland was to get injured, that City's title chances are over. With those numbers, then you'd have to agree because he is the focal point. Yes, they always look for him. They're always trying to get him opportunities, but they need to find goals from elsewhere. And you knew it was going to be tough for them today because they always struggle at Villa Park. The physicality and the speed of the Aston Villa team year on year causes problems for the style that Manchester City play at. So you knew they had to be at the best. You knew any chances that came Haaland's way, he'd have to take today if they were going to get anything